bouncing around. Doesn't seem to be any feedback issues. So, without further ado, what the hell is going on? We don't do lives first thing in the morning at 8:05. Do we? We do. Let me just bring this down just a bit. Okay, there we go. This episode brought to you by Folgers Original Blend. Everybody loves Folgers, right? I'm a big fan, actually. I don't like too rich of a coffee. Let me get situated here. So we just got back from Baker City. We'll talk more about that, Jill and I will, on Thursday. And that's your chance to hear about what happened in Baker City at the Geyser Grand Hotel. Let me make sure this is actually, yeah, it's going through. Let me make sure we're good. Yeah. Okay. We're live. We're live. Hey, Larry. So, Larry, you're a morning person. I'm like a 5 a.m., 3 a.m. morning person as of late. My clock is completely effed with, so if I look tired and crazy, I'm just going with it, and I hope you guys are too. As I said, we just got back from Geyser Grand Hotel in Baker City. I've never been there before. Don't really know anything about it, other than the fact that it's a big haunted hotel. So we brought our Bigfoot action there. It was an intimate crowd for about 2.5 days. And so tune in Thursday this week for Jill and I talking about what exactly occurred. I have some videos I have to edit too regarding that whole moment. So last week's Olympic Strange Days was called Big Footage because we were talking specifically about this footage I've been holding on to along with a handful of people, as far as I know, for 5 years. I think 2020 or 2021 to be exact. So if you don't know what this live is in response to, after you're done, just go back in the stream and check out the YouTube channel for the last drop of Olympic Strange Days, a show that drops every Friday, Thursday for members. And the last episode was about I think a 15-minute video regarding this FLIR or infrared footage that is from an elevated position showing something booking through the woods. Now, is it man, myth, or beast? Hoax? None of the above as far as I know. And I put a challenge out to people to solve the mystery. And if they did, they won a prize. In this case, a wood sculpture I did of a Sasquatch head. Been up for a long time. Okay. Larry's a morning person for sure. We'll have to go have some breakfast out your way sometime. So I think that video popped on Thursday, Friday definitely. We were already in Baker City. So, I was moderating the chat, seeing what was going on. And I thought maybe it would catch traction because it is such interesting footage. It appears to be authentic in all shapes and sizes, but there's not a lot of information other than other experts' opinions about what they're looking at, because this footage I couldn't find anywhere on Google Images or reverse searches or showing it and shopping it around face to face, because the small group of people, let's just call them the Big Footage Five, for 5 years, as far as I know, nobody put this stuff out online, which was really, it's still weird to me. Like if you had really good 40 seconds of footage that nobody had seen before, eventually you would think that this would land up on YouTube or somewhere. But there is a backstory about this footage, and it went something like this, that there was a clandestine operation going on where a guy basically had a camera pointed at a screen, and he was in the military, and he couldn't come forward because he was too freaked out, and we don't know too much about this guy, other than that the guy that actually had the footage given to him by this military ops dude goes by the name JF. That's as much as I can say here. Other people can give out that information, but Initials JF gave the footage to Initials NR, and then Initials NR gave it to me 5 years ago at the Longview conference. And so I've just been sitting on it, waiting for this footage to get leaked. And it never did, which is so weird that nobody ever did it. So that told me that it was super rare. Whatever it was, people believe this backstory. Well, then I shopped it around, and I showed it to different people. I showed it to Kathy Moskowitz-Strain, who I believe is an archaeologist for the feds. Kathy, if you're watching, I hope I didn't get your CV. But she definitely works for the federal government. The Sierra Nevadas is like her route, and she's a Bigfooter, and so is her husband. His name's slipping my mind. I'll get it in a second. But regardless, she's an author, Bigfooter, been around since the early 2000s, as far as I know, probably before that. And then I showed it to Dave Mason, who builds FLIRs for a living. He builds FLIR units. You've seen him in Skinwalker Ranch, Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. He's in every episode. He lives up here in northern Washington. He hopped on a Zoom call with me and looked at the footage. And immediately, within like 5 seconds, said the footage is fake. And he goes, here's why, is because the shadowing across the shoulder. He goes, that's not right. He goes, I build FLIR units as a technician for government contracts. I bet those contracts that this is BS footage. He says, don't release it as an authentic shot because of that. And I said, but God, it looks so good. Like, it looks at one point like it takes a 6 foot long step in the last frame. The shoulders are completely, horizontal without any bob. It looks at the camera like Patty 2 times. It looks to the right in the beginning. It takes a hop. It fully exposes itself out into the open. And when you're hoaxing something, you don't probably want to give, like if you think of all the jump scare movies, you don't want to give a lot of that away to your audience. You want the imagination to be kind of like your special effects equipment, especially before AI. And so I shot a video about this. That was Friday, big footage. Well, here we are, Monday morning. Now this footage is being leaked elsewhere. Initials NR, as I said earlier, tipped off somebody, and I think that's a good thing because this footage needs to be recognized, and says, hey, you have a copy of this too. You have a copy of this. The footage is out there. It's been leaked. It was only leaked, because I got permission from JF to do so. That was the guy that originally had the footage. And so I made sure we were cool, because apparently this clandestine Black Ops dude in the military has gone dark. And so if said individual cannot and will not come forward for whatever reason, and they have gone dark, and I have at least 5 people saying this is why it's fake, do I have your permission to do it? He said, as long as this guy's gone dark, yeah, let's go for it, or something to that effect. So that's all part of the provenance and the paper trail. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, let's get into it. So one of the other people that I showed this footage to was Cliff Barackman about 3 years ago in Forks, Washington at a conference. And again, not online, just on my laptop, the very one I'm looking at right now. And Cliff looked at it and says, oh, I know that footage. It's from Mount Hood. It's not real. It's like a recreation or something. And I said, what? And so it didn't make sense to me because I couldn't find it online. So I just thought maybe he was being dismissive. He wasn't. He was right. And here's why he's right. Because I found the episode that it's from. And it doesn't have every bit of what we want to appreciate as far as the original footage that I released and that has been released by How to Hunt and probably soon Thinker Thunker and everybody else. But it shows enough from this episode of Unsolved Mysteries that it satisfies my curiosity. And here's why. Is that on the telemetry reading of the helicopter using a FLIR unit in 1994 on, I believe, the east side of Mount Hood with Peter Byrne, Larry Lund, an entire film crew. They were basically recreating, hey, there's this new tech. It's called FLIR. It's out of Wilsonville. Let's use this for this production of this super successful show with Dennis Farina, not Robert Stack. They had a fill-in host for the 90s, I guess. I didn't know that either. And let's film what this would look like as far as a human running through the woods. Probably in the scenario, I believe it's a convict of some kind. And they're just like, hey, if there's a convict on the loose, how are we going to find him like a cop would, you know, on the run? Well, Peter Byrne's a big game hunter. So what better person, and Mount Hood's his area, he knows it like the back of his hand. So the film crew all went up there, from what we can tell. And Larry Lund, if you're listening here, we still need your input. So let me show you, go back and watch the original footage over at Flash of Beauty / Olympic Strange Days. It's there. And then come back to this live stream and then watch this here. So let's go full screen. I don't know if there's any audio here. There is, so I'm going to shut it.
Here's our target. 0.5. Here's our target. 0.5. Here's our target. 0.5. Here's our target. 0.5. Here's our target. 0.5.
All right, let's pause it right here, because see the lower right hand part of the video is super blurry, because whoever's recording this is doing a secondary recording off of a monitor. It's not the primary source. The cutaway here where it says infrared 41894, that's your original source. That's in the episode. Again, it is season 1. Let's see here. Yeah, season 1, episode 4. So let me turn down the volume here on that, and we'll watch this together. So look at that. This is the subject that is an actor pretending as though he's a convict on the run. It's part of the story, the narrative that they're telling in Unsolved Mysteries. And if you look at the telemetry data here, the bottom box where it says track GS0 alt 1753, and then it gives the date. And I'm going to show you bit by bit, even though it's blurry, that these all match up, because you can kind of read them. I can read ALT on the top and bottom right now, because they're all kind of lining up on one another. So let's just play this through, and I'll narrate it here. So this is part of the story. Convict on the run, this is what it would look like, but what if it was Bigfoot, right? And then here in a second, this is the blurry shot, but you can see the 7. You can see the number 2 a little bit. It's on the bottom. I don't know why the G is there. Okay, so what is this here? GS, I can see a bit of the G. I can see number 3 on 39 over in the left-hand portion. You see what I'm getting at? Like, there's a lot. Okay, now here, this is your costume. This is your costume shot of the subject. Now, I have to assume that they didn't use this footage of a Bigfoot for part of the story arc or narrative. These are just cutaway shots that they didn't need for whatever reason. So that's, I think, the smoking gun right there, the fact that there's a costume in place to where the same telemetry data, the same date, the same numbers, the provenance of Larry Lund on set, and the date. The date adds up for when Peter Byrne, Henry Franzoni, and John Glickman were doing a comprehensive study on Bigfoot on Mount Hood, I believe for 5 years. It's called the Glickman Report. You can go look it up. It should still be online. Go look at old interviews with Henry Franzoni. He'll talk about it. I don't know how much Peter Byrne talks about those days with Henry, but that's where they were. That's what makes sense. So this time I'm going to shut up. I'm going to play the footage in full, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Let me turn up the volume here.
Okay, here's our target. Point 5. 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 Okay, here's our target. Point 5.
A stand-in for the elusive, legendary creature known as Bigfoot. A stand-in for the elusive, legendary creature known as Bigfoot. A stand-in for the elusive, legendary creature known as Bigfoot.
Well, Cliff figured it out. I happened to be passing by his museum, and I happened to have the sculpture with me because I was out carving, right? Like I was in Baker City, and I had all my carvings with me. And I thought, well, if this gets figured out while I'm on the road, I might as well bring the dang thing with me. It's gonna cut down on cost of shipping. So, I'm texting Cliff back and forth, and I'll be darned if I've never been to his museum. It's an amazing museum. Like, if you don't ever get there, you don't ever get there. But man, oh man, it's an impressive exhibit, especially Murphy. Like Murphy, the Sasquatch, is so anatomically correct. I could go on and on about that sculpture and Baby Murphy as well. If you go there to see anything, gosh, those are incredible Bigfoots. As a maker myself, they were made by Weta Works, the same guys from Mythbusters. So incredible stuff. But this whole thing with Cliff, he figured it out. I mean, I went in his office. The reason we couldn't find the footage is because it was a cutaway shot that they must have kept in the editing bay. Now, I can't say that 100%. We can go down the rabbit hole and say, oh, this is a giant cover-up because they've accidentally filmed a Bigfoot on Mount Hood. Like, I'm so that guy. But I can't be there for this one because the telemetry data and Larry Lund and Peter Byrne during that time doing the Glickman study with Franzoni. Yeah. And then the council, the wise council from Dave Mason from Skinwalker Ranch, again, who builds FLIR units. And so what did I say in my video? Just like, give me a date, give me a production studio, give me, well, here you go. There's forensic data on the telemetry, and there is a production date and a studio involved. That's it. That's all I wanted to say, really. It's 5 years. I don't want to be the guy busting myths. I just want to, I was hoping it was real. That's what I was hoping. I was hoping enough people couldn't figure it out that it suddenly became real. It didn't. It became a recreation and not a hoax. So that's a surprising thing. It's still a part of Bigfoot history, right? Like Peter Byrne's involvement with the Mount Hood Sasquatch phenomena. And so for that, it should be appreciated. If you want to catch two museums, go check out Peter Byrne's exhibit at the Area 58 Museum. And I think we're going to get this footage somehow replaying in the back screen with Peter Byrne at that exhibit there. Again, it is season 1, episode 4. You can find it on YouTube. Go watch the entire thing. Not Robert Stack. That's why it's season 1, because it was a new spinoff, like 90s version, Unsolved Mystery. You know how they did like 90s Star Trek? Bunch of BS. So, Dennis Farina, season 1, episode 4, Unsolved Mysteries, Peter Byrne. That's it for me, guys. I'm out of here. I got to still unpack. And we'll see you Thursday, 7 a.m. Oh, and live show Wednesday this week coming up, I believe, on the 19th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Do I have any green on? No, I'll pinch myself later. 20, yeah, so the 19th, Wednesday, 7 o'clock, Elves. If you're in town in Port Townsend, going to the Anchor Bar with Justin, an elf expert. And it should be a good time. That's it for me. I will see you guys in the trees. Bye-bye.